Said you pushed on my trackpad too hard.
Publishing to YouTube 30%. I cannot push on your trackpad too hard. It's supposed to move better.
All right, okay.
All right. Should I just kick
There
it?
it is. I think we're all
All
set.
right. Let's
Good
go.
at that.
Ready?
And
3,
mine-
2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? It's the Life on Life's Terms podcast. I'm Tom Robinson, and grateful recovering addict. Like I always say, we're not affiliated with any 12-step program, although we do endorse them. We do love them, have benefited from them, and we're social distancing. So,
Yes.
Anthony, could you just hold that right there and turn the blade towards the camera there? So right there, I got 6.5 feet. I got
Yeah.
6.5 feet. So, Chris,
Yeah.
are you good at catching stuff?
Kinda. There
All
we
right.
go.
See, we're
All right.
construction guys. That's
Think
what we do.
Yo, got the tape. Let's go. Where we at? That's 6 foot right there. So
See?
comfortably 6.5.
Yeah,
That's
man.
So-
right here.
Because
Good.
Colby can't jump that extra 6 inches.
Yeah.
But
It's all good.
I'll keep my opinions to myself.
We're
on-
all good. It's
on
all
that.
good. Life is
So
good.
yes, we are trying to do as best we can. That's why in the post you can see that like the cameras are so far away.
Yeah.
Normally we're not like this. We try and all fit at one table so that you can probably see our facial expressions and
Dude, it's a
all
good
that
thing we
stuff.
got this big room.
yes,
We
I
wouldn't
know.
have been able to do this.
Yeah, not in the other room we had. We wouldn't have been able to.
Right,
We
that's
didn't
what
have
I'm saying.
we didn't have enough room. So
Yeah.
grateful to be here.
At-
And
At a
like
newer
it
recovery
would be
center.
a lot. Yes, at a new way. It would be difficult to try and do this with masks on. I think.
Oh my God.
But
Well, we're
if
here to
that
help people.
if that was what we had to do, we would do it. No problem.
And then fair to
Um,
say, the opioid epidemic is probably killing more people than the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true as well. This is why we're doing what we
Can't
do.
have
You know what I'm saying?
you can't have fun without fentanyl anymore. It's just in everything.
Just before I
Jeez.
came here, it was a video I seen. It was the Sinaloa cartel making fentanyl.
Yeah, gross.
Really?
Yeah, they just dropped millions of dollars of chemicals in the ocean with the GPS tracker on it. People go and find it, take it, and
And they're
they're
making
just
fentanyl.
making it in these big giant pots that you would cook like stew or broth in.
Rogan had a guy on who dove deep into where they get it. Like the precursors are made in China.
Yeah.
And you know they totally legally export the precursors to it, and all they got to do is mix them together.
Yeah, well, these guys were getting the chemicals just like dropped in the ocean.
yeah.
I mean, who knows what
I
it was,
mean,
but
did they have their chemistry degrees on display? Or?
yeah,
No,
right.
they
So
probably-
you can find our audio podcast at
Kinda remind-
lolterms.com.
Please
Sounds like that
subscribe.
movie with Tom Cruise, The American Made, when he was smuggling for the CIA from. You see
Yeah,
that movie? With Tom, it was like a couple years old,
yeah, I think so.
based on true events or true facts or somewhat.
So tonight we have Tony.
Hey.
This is a friend that Tom got to be our guest today. Hopefully he can help us with some technical stuff as well.
Yeah, some advice and whatever.
so-
what he thinks.
Yeah, like we're just normal people, just trying to put on this podcast and doing
To
it
help people.
as best as we can.
Free and for fun.
I know there's a lot
now.
of people out there that, are producing like amazing things, but I think ours sounds really good for what we have. And
Sure does.
this
Mhm.
this Facebook Live stuff was like an afterthought.
Right.
We had planned on just being audio, and then one day I was like, we started with the iPhone, and we were propping it up on things, and
Yeah.
then got a stand, and we're going live with that, and I think it helps. But our audio podcast is mainly why we did this, and that's at lolterms.com.
Right.
It's on all the podcast platforms.
And it sounds good.
Yes, it does sound good. And it's unedited. We don't do anything. We don't change anything. We don't add anything.
That's right. It's 100%
what
unscripted.
what you hear is in there.
Real.
Real and raw. So, Tony,
yes.
you originally are from Seattle. You said.
I'm originally, I was born in North Carolina. My dad was in the Air Force. I lived in Texas, California, and most of my life in Washington State,
Oh, all right.
greater Seattle area. and then I had an option of sticking around, and I option to go to Minnesota and try to fight alcoholism. And I figured there's a church every so and so feet. Like there's a Starbucks in Seattle or a Walgreens in Chicago. There's
A lot of churches in Minnesota.
A lot of churches, different denominations, and I figured I'd be a safe bet. I can detox, I can get my head straight, I can figure something out, and it just didn't work because I found out there was 2 liquor stores within like a quarter-mile radius of where my mother lived, had her house and her property, and I was like, well, I can figure this out over a couple of drinks and see what happens. And
And at what age was this going
I
on?
was 40. I was 39, and
So you were mostly alcohol?
strictly alcohol. I would say like 92% alcohol and 8% other stuff.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
wasn't really my thing to be, into narcotics and such. I never
Alright.
thought marijuana was a narcotic, and I've always felt that way, and I
I
still
don't
do.
think it's considered a narcotic.
I've
Yeah.
always felt that way.
Yeah.
But booze was my
Achilles heel.
that
Yeah.
was my vicious cycle for years, 2 decades almost, and I didn't know how to stop. I tried. I mean, I've tried to. The depression that monstrous liquid can give you is just so aggravating to the people around you and your family and your friends and the bridges you burn, and
Yeah.
you have
It's
sometimes an amends will not cover the damage I have done, and I don't want to live in those resentments and regrets every day because I feel that I made enough amends when I was realizing the fact that I would rather be alive and sober and clean than to have such a destructive train of thought every day of my life.
and I'm sure it didn't
Mm.
start out that way when you first started drinking,
Oh, no.
like most people.
It's fun.
But we people always forget alcohol is a depressant,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and when the fun is over, and now you need this depressant all the time, every day.
It's like codependency.
Yeah, it's vicious, and
Yeah.
detox from alcohol, you can die.
Yeah. I listen here. I'll show you guys right now. Look at this. See that right there? That
Wow,
is
looks
from
like it
a seizure I had going through withdrawals on day 2 of my withdrawals.
Yeah.
I tried to
Wow.
detox myself again, which it's impossible. If you just think you can just drink water or nap it out, sleep it out, sweat it out, look, man, you're going to get the jitters, the delirium jitters, all that they talk about in the big book. These things are real. They
Yeah.
will happen to your body. Your body doesn't know what to
DTs,
do.
delirium tremens.
It will.
Tremens, yeah.
Your body's in like this strange kind of vortex of it doesn't know really what's going on with you right now, and it will it's almost like a shock treatment in a sense. And I remember when I broke my shoulder from a seizure, from an alcohol withdrawal seizure.
Oh, you just broke it like on the ground or something?
I was taking a nap on my mother's couch. I was watching Law and Order SVU. Kind of got hooked on that when I went through my first surgery with my hip and pelvis, alcohol related. We'll get to that later.
Mm.
All right.
And I took a nap because I was gone day 2. I couldn't go up and down stairs. I was having so bad jitters that I didn't have the means to get any alcohol. I was too afraid to even walk to the store and fall and trip, and it was just bad. It was day
Wow.
2 of just binging and just trying to clean up, let my my internal organs do the filtering system that they naturally and organically want to do. And I woke up to an EMT putting me back on the couch, and the story goes is that my mother was not supposed to be home. She was a hospice nurse, and she came home and she had a cancellation, the patient went to the hospital instead. And she was in her bedroom. She heard a thump. She was came into the living room, and there I was having a seizure. She called 911. She did all the appropriate life-saving things like
Wow.
grabbing the wooden spoon from the kitchen.
Wow.
And I got lifted up, went to the hospital, and it's one of those miraculous moments where it's I think it's you need to pay attention of how dangerous my intake was, because there is somebody, and if you want to call your higher power, God, the universe, whatever expanding is something was watching over me, and it was kind of an eye opener that there was something far greater than me that does not want me to die, and that's
Yeah.
how I felt about it.
Call that a God shot.
Yeah, and you can't realize that until you like look back on it.
Look, yeah, but
You know, hindsight's
Right.
2020.
Yes.
But in my stupor and my utter, my defiance to all things that potentially good, I didn't realize how lucky I was when I was hearing these stories about my mother's point of view about being in the hospital with my hip and pelvis surgery, and like how I woke up during surgery and it snapped all the pins and clamps on me, and they had to cut me open and re-stitch me all back up and
Wow.
re-clamp me all back up. She was in the emergency, the surgery room. With her years of being in the medical field, they tried to shoot her out to like some family room, and she was like, "Listen, I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've seen everything. You're not going to tell me that's my son." And they were like, they backed up. This is what she told me. My mom she can talk. She can talk. I mean, I'm a professional line cook, and I can talk very rudely, unapologetically. My
Oh, yeah.
mother in the medical field can do it very stern, very shrewd, and very to the point where you just have it's best to just let her just stay right there and watch the operating go down. And she wasn't going to budge. And it's a funny analogy I like to pinpoint back and forth. It's funny in my head because I felt it, dealt it, lived with it. I have strange dark humor. So I woke up because I was still going through withdrawals with my hip surgery, so I wasn't.
Oh, really?
The anesthesiologist hit me in, and it wasn't enough to keep me out when they were going and doing my surgery. So I've experienced all these things because my body didn't know what that was going inside my body, because when you're going through your withdrawals, your body is fiending for some more alcohol. It wants that thing.
You didn't tell the anesthesiologist the extent of your drinking
No.
and the extent of the withdrawals that you were going through.
No, I was a liar
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
of
you
course.
woke up in the middle of surgery.
in the middle of surgery.
So that is a cautionary tale if I ever heard one right there. You don't want to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's certain times, to be honest, and when you're in front of a doctor, that's one of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's crucial.
the medical field. I
Crucial.
mean, they're not supposed to judge. Does it happen? Of course.
Yeah, they
Sure,
took their.
I mean, it
oath.
doesn't matter. You're
I've
there.
always believed that. You never lie to the doctor. You never lie to the cops. Like, that's one thing that I've always believed in. But for some reason, I was in so much bitterness and hatred, and my objective, my perception of reality was so jaded and just jagged and just ruined. Like, I just didn't like anyone. I didn't trust anyone. I hated the entire world. I had no respect for mankind. Like, that's how far deep my alcoholism was. I just did not care about anyone's feelings or emotions. All I cared about was my selfish self and how I'm going to get my next drink. That's all I cared about.
Right.
How fast can I get the hell out of this hospital so I can go drink? Because this place gives me the creeps.
Right. and you're there because of drinking.
I'm there because of drinking.
Right.
You've heard the stories before in
Insane.
meetings, people OD on their, mainline drug of choice, and what do? They get out of detox rehab and they're shooting up in the parking lot. I've
Or
heard
they
these stories.
get out of the emergency room and they
Right
go
there.
get more.
I had a
Or
friend
they
Oh,
do
yeah.
the stuff that they still have left.
in Florida. I had a friend, and he said he had his dope man come over when he was hooked up to his morphine drip and hook his heroin fentanyl nonsense and onto his drip, just like that,
And he
in the
survi-
hospital
and he
in
survived it?
Florida. And
Yeah.
he survived.
Survived
Yeah,
it?
he's still alive. He's a good guy. He's a professional fisherman now,
Wow.
doing good. He
That's
has the
good.
right to see his boy, so he's doing something good.
That's
Yeah,
great.
right.
That's good.
And that's
Always good
that's
to
the
hear.
thing too. Like, it doesn't matter really what you've done or how
How
bad
far-
you think you are.
How far down the path you've gone.
Yeah, yeah. You can return from everything, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's,
there's
Except a grave or a life sentence without
Yeah.
parole.
and I mean, there's lots of things to be done. There's meetings are only going to get you so far. Step work's only going to get you so far.
Yeah.
these are facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you you left Seattle and you went to Minnesota thinking you were going to get sober, but that didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
What happened then?
I worked at an ethanol plant I'm not making this
Brilliant.
up. I cannot make this up. This is
That's like me shooting heroin and getting a job at a pharmacy.
Yeah.
so I was a cook operator for ethanol. In fact, an ethanol plant. You know who you are if you're listening. Got raided by the feds in '96 or something like that. Yeah, these. I'm not making any of this up. Call Winnebago, Minnesota, and check my. Do a fact check if you want to. You know who you are. I couldn't figure it out. My brother flew me out to Boston. So I love Boston. When I first came out to Boston about 2006, 2007, I was doing some culinary interning, and I really wanted to like move out to. I fell in love with Boston within 5 minutes.
Wow.
Since I was a child, I've always had this connection, this love, this admiration for Boston, Massachusetts, and I learning about
Pretty
the
cool.
Tea Party when I was in the 3rd, 4th grade, and
Right, Sarah Palin.
Those dudes are badass.
Yeah.
They threw tea in the water. I'm going.
It was something different because I've always been kind of a little rule break and defiant little cuss. I've always kind of been like that. My favorite ball player of all time is Ty Cobb because he didn't take shit from anyone, and I fed into that kind of ideology, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But my younger brother used to wear this Boston Red Sox hat when he was just a kid, and he was in love with Wade Boggs. That was his hero, and so
Don't trade
having-
Wade for getting laid.
and I've always just this little like quips and nuances or whatever pages in history, presidents. This something about the whole Boston, Massachusetts thing. I just kind of liked it.
Yeah,
I've always liked
it is a
my
very
entire
historical
life.
city.
It is super historical. I love it. I love the best decision I ever made in my life was moving to Boston, Massachusetts.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. I don't plan on going anywhere else. I'm going to die here. I'm going to retire as a cook here or a chef or a restaurant owner, whatever
And
my
that-
sobriety does. Not the future trip, because you're not supposed to do that when you're in recovery. But I'm not going to go anywhere else. I'd rather be in Boston than anywhere else in this country.
Lots
Nice.
of restaurants, food, cooking.
The
Like,
scene
Yeah,
is
that's for
incredible. I
sure.
used to eat here and go back to the States and like, guys, we're Seattle, Washington, man. We're a seafood city. Why is Boston? I just got back and they're basically kicking our ass and saying you're not good enough. But that's maybe the Boston mentality, whatever. But we got to step our game up, boys. So I've always been around great chefs and great cooks that are not afraid to push the envelope and test the boundaries, and that's what I'm all very fortunate to have been worked in certain kitchens in the Pacific Northwest where I had leads and sous and sauciers and chefs and just other cooks of all walks of life that had this awesome integrity and uniqueness that made it special. Why
Wow,
I never
that's
wanted to
cool.
get another job, do anything else. There's no point to get another job. I've got everything I ever want with these awesome, weird, strange, eclectic weirdos just like me.
Yeah.
right.
Dude, the only interesting restaurant that I can comes to mind when I think of Seattle is at the top of the Space Needle. They got this restaurant,
Yeah.
and it swivels as you're eating.
Slowly.
And in the summertime, there is mountains, beautiful, huge mountains, 360 degrees. You can see them.
Yeah, the Cascades,
all over the place.
Cascades and the Olympics.
Cascades, Olympics. I mean, Mount Rainier is in view. It's snow-capped year-round. It's just gigantic.
Right.
It's so gorgeous. And I remember eating there, and it was like sunset, and I can't even explain to you how beautiful it is. Unreal.
Yeah.
But I mean, none of that matters if you don't leave the bar.
Right. Absolutely. You put the alcohol in your mouth, and the glue comes out of your ass, and you're stuck to
Yeah.
that seat.
Yeah. Hoping the ESPN reruns will change.
Right.
So where'd you go after Minnesota?
I
You came to Boston.
I was I had enough. I would work. I wouldn't even spend my paychecks. I would just put them in my dresser drawer, maybe go cash one here and there. And I was drunk. I was staying with my mother. She was doing something out of, she didn't have to help me or anything. She was like, but she didn't want to let me go. Like she knew that if I stayed in Seattle by myself, I would drink myself to death. And I
Right.
gotta say, I gotta agree with that, because I had no ambition. But I was hammered when I made the phone call. She kept pestering me, and I said, I'm not going to Florida. I have nothing but bad things to say about Florida. And I still do, even though I did go to treatment down there, and I did meet some good group of guys, and I still stay in contact with. And Jared, if you're listening, I'm on the air. Like I said, all right, Ninja. But I met a great group of guys, but I was hammered. I was just one day I just couldn't take it. I get these 32-ounce bottles of Phillips vodka. I hate war stories. And I just slugged it, and I looked around at what I was doing. I'm 40 years old. I'm a wreck. I'm a piece of shit. I have nothing. I'm not in the culinary industry anymore. I miss that life. I don't know what's going on. I have nothing to my name except a bunch of paychecks I haven't cashed. And I texted my mother, and I was like, make the call. And that was it. And I just proceeded to get it.
That's the moment of surrender.
That's my moment of surrender.
So now this is after treatment in Florida, or
this is before. I was still in Minnesota. It was after my 40th birthday, and I just got back from Boston, and my brother flew me out there for my 40th. That was the last time I ever drank on Boston's Massachusetts soil. Was the week of April the 14th through the 17th was the last time I drank alcohol in Boston. And I thought about that, and I was like, well, do I really need to have this? I mean, it was just booze every day. I could not stop, man. I could not quit. And I couldn't do it anymore. I just did not want to anymore. And I said, I'll go to Florida. I'll go to the worst place. And I thought about this for a couple of days, drunk. The worst place I can think of to get sober is to go to the place that I don't want to go. If I have to go to hell to get sober, then by golly, I'm gonna fucking go to Florida. I'm gonna hate every
willingness.
And I did. And
Yeah.
I went down there. I talked to some dude. I went to detox down there, and I went down to Florida like May 19th. May 11th, I got it in my big book. May 11th, touchdown in Florida. Went to detox immediately.
Yeah.
And went to a house. Started going to IOP. And
IOP, what does that stand for again?
intensive outpatient therapy
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
or program.
Program, yeah.
I don't
IOP.
So I had
Intensive
like
outpatient
6.
program.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
Because that's what all the treatment centers are down there. It's
they put 90 days down your throat in 28 days. It's
yeah. They have a house that you
expensive.
stay in. They have a house that you stay in, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
they have a van that they pick you up at, and they bring
Yeah.
you to the IOP, which is
Mhm.
treatment. And
Yeah.
then once IOP's over, then
Thrown
they
to the
send you.
wolves.
They send you off.
Dude, I went
Go to
to
meetings, find a
Florida.
sponsor.
I went to treatment in Florida too. I didn't stick, but it was still good. It was the Salvation Army.
There's lots of
Yeah,
controversy about what's going on down there. There's people, one guy got like 22 years for the way he was running his operation. He
Mhm.
had like girls
Yeah.
locked in their sober house, like
Yeah.
doors screwed shut where they
Patients.
couldn't.
They busted a
What?
place in
And he would like just keep them there because they're billing insurance and they're whacking insurance for like 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, and like I know people up here that they were given incentives like, listen, you want to get around, all right, I'll buy you a scooter. I'll drop $600 on a scooter because I'm making $5 grand off you staying there. So
Wow.
it's worth it. You need a few bucks, I'll give you some money.
See,
It was because they wanted people to stay there and the numbers to go. You know what I mean?
it's just
Yeah,
tragic.
there's a place in Lantana when I was in Florida
evil,
that got
really.
popped for human trafficking. It was a trap house, a sober, quote unquote, sober house, but it
Mm.
was a place to do drugs.
Right.
And they just this was like this. They claimed to be a sober living environment, but it wasn't. It was just a place to prostitution and drugs.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
And
That's
they
awful.
You get kicked out of your halfway, what they call sober houses, halfway down there. You get kicked out of there, you go to these trap houses where you can get high and say you're living in a sober house, but it's all BS. Florida is a joke.
Anthony, could you give a little juice to my mic, just a tiny bit?
Little juice. You're on
Yeah,
3.
I'm watching the the levels, and it ain't good.
You're a little bit. There,
that's
green lights
better.
are popping up. There you go.
There we go. That's better.
it was this, and it still isn't straightened out
Thank
down
you.
there. But the powers that be are trying to get involved and straighten it out. You know, it's difficult. Unfortunately, you know, well, actually, it depends on how you look at it. It's a business. Getting people sober is a business.
Yeah, but
And
the
it's
most
a very, very lucrative business.
but the most successful business or the most
Yes.
fulfilling business is the one that actually provides the most value. You know, obviously, these people are trying to do something really shady, and that's why they get 22 years in prison.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? It's not, you know, I mean,
Yeah, it's you know, there's people see dollar signs. You
That's
know,
all they
Right.
see. They're
there's a
just-
lot of people that they'll get involved in it for the right reasons in the beginning.
They're just different.
But that
dope,
money, when you see these checks coming in, and all this insurance starts paying, you know, that changes people. You know, unfortunately it sucks
yeah.
that happens.
So you must have ran into some good people down there. Treatment.
I was very selective on who I made friends with.
But the people running the treatment that you went through.
No, they're a different kind of pimp, they're a different kind of dope man. All they want is their cash. That's all they want.
Oh, really?
They try to regulate. You got to go to meetings. You got to be home by curfew. But every Friday, you got to have my $200.
Yeah, right.
You got to have my money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is. You got to
Yeah.
take a UA. If you fail, you're out. But you ain't getting your deposit back. That's my money. It's all about money. Like,
UA, urinary analysis.
and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could. I mean, it's hard to save money because there ain't no jobs down there. You work at a call center, which is bogus. You know, I worked at a
Oh my God.
a
Terrible
food truck.
jobs in Florida.
Oh, it's awful, man.
Terrible.
There's the number one. Florida is so terrible. Fraud everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just a fraudulent state altogether.
Yeah.
I got paid cash when I worked at a food truck out in front of a brewery in Boynton Beach. You know who you are. I'm not going to say their names, but I will. I don't care.
No, we don't need to blow
Cash
anybody
every
up, but-
day, no taxes. I didn't pay freaking taxes in all of 2019. I didn't get no stimulus check, no anything this year, no COVID relief, none of that stuff. You know what I did? I got out of Florida. I stayed sober, got into a halfway. 3 days later in Boston, I found a job and I went to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. That's called disciplined daily schedule. And you learn that in treatment. So if you are in treatment and you want to bolt, just don't hop that fence. Don't walk out the door. It's going to suck. The food is fattening. It's sugar and it's cholesterol. And it's just there to like give you substance.
Yeah, right.
Treatment centers have a strict curriculum that is necessary for you to relearn the stuff that you have forgotten of what it is like to be sober. I learned more in that treatment center than I did in 7 months in Florida. So I can't be all that bad about Florida being terrible, but you know what? I don't like you, Florida, and I don't ever want to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's certain places down there that were doing the right thing, and there's places that weren't.
Oh, when I was there, there was
that's-
great AA in Sarasota, Florida.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bostonians that go down to Florida,
great AA.
You know?
Jersey,
really
yep.
good people.
And
I mean,
Connecticut,
and you can meet all of them down in Naples, and like
Yeah.
you go to Naples, and there's probably just as many Boston police down there as there is up here. They're just retired.
yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, I remember there was a meeting out on Siesta Key on the beach, sunset meeting. You know, pretty cool stuff back then. I enjoyed it, and I stayed sober the whole time I was in Florida.
I had a buddy that was a union guy. He got laid off every winter. He would get laid off, and he'd go down to Delray, and he'd rent a sober house.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd say, hey, you got to get a job. And be like, no fucking way. I make more on unemployment in Massachusetts than I would ever make down here.
Yeah.
You will have your rent every week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Wow.
go to meetings, do what I need to do,
Yeah.
and I'll pay you your rent. And it was like vacation every winter. He'd be down in Florida.
I like the meetings I went to in Delray with my buddy that introduced me to the big book, how to read the big book, how to underline NHPs and highlights. And we used to go to this AA And he was a speaker, and I got up there and I did the podium stuff, the doctor's opinion, the prerequisite before the meeting. And I know it was a good,
Oh, yeah.
it was a good place. I liked it. It was in Delray. It was cool. It was right on the bus line. I can go there, hop on a bus, go home to my house, or I can get a ride back and forth. It didn't matter to me. I even walked home from meetings to my halfway.
Yeah, they used to read the doctor's opinion before a meeting sometimes,
and
right?
The doctor's opinion.
Read the doctor's opinion or read the how it works.
How it works.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do the how it works and the 12 steps and the 12 traditions and go through all that.
So great. It's
And
great
it was
stuff.
cool. They had you can get your 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 9-month chip. And they did a chip system, and that was pretty cool,
Yep.
When you're in treatment, they do the keychain system. It's kind of the same thing. But
That's
you
like
get
a NA thing is
Yeah,
a
NA
keychain.
thing is a keychain, yeah. But,
But it's cool. Same
it's what
type of
it
deal.
is,
It's a little more useful than a chip, I guess.
So
I like well that how do you operate a chip when you get one from when you get your
I
green
do.
or blue, yeah, keep it in your pocket.
Oh, keep it in your
You-
pocket.
you
Yep.
Use the ridges on the chip to go across your thumb and your index finger to remind you that you can earn this chip because you've been sober this amount of time. And
Oh, that's
when
pretty
it
cool.
blocks off that trigger for you to stay focused on sobriety.
I thought
Yeah.
you were going to say if you end up in a bar, you put it in the drink, and if it dissolves,
you can have the drink.
Drink it.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that myth before.
So now, is Florida the only place that you've been to treatment, or had you been out in Seattle as well?
I've been to detox centers in Seattle, but I've been to the drunk tank, of course. But
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never been arrested. I don't have a record. I've always been
King County.
Yes, sir. James Street. But I've only in Florida. But I've tried to self detox myself, and it's impossible.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, especially on
Yeah, I
alcohol
mean,
or benzos.
Oh,
You can-
no,
you-
man.
If you weren't too far into it, like it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
and people have done it. But
Yeah.
it's not recommended.
But that's
Like,
not when
I could,
you're-
But the problem is, you can stop it. It's the staying stopped. It's
Right.
it's that fucking little voice in your head that's like, come on, man, it wasn't that bad. Come on,
Yes.
come on, just a shot, you'd be good.
Well, once
you
once
know.
the medications wears off,
Yeah.
the alcohol being the medication, then life sets in.
Then you're
And you're
stuffing
like,
your face
oh.
with everything you can get your hands
Oh,
on to take
no.
that feeling away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
when the
either
73rd
hitting-
hour comes up, it's time to, whoa, here I can walk up and downstairs and go down to the store. Yep. By the way, I need a pack of cigarettes, and since I'm here, might as well get a bottle
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
6 or whatever.
I
you
mean,
want.
it's not going to do
When you
that's
just felt like death,
Oh,
but you
well,
forget that as soon as you walk across
Yeah.
that threshold of the fucking store.
I was such a conscientious drunk that if I locked myself in my apartment, I knew it had got, my DirecTV. I got Law and Order. I've got my laptop. I got a ton of movies. I can plug my HDMI cable from my laptop to my flat screen. I got movies. I'm set up.
Mm.
And I know that I've got a bottle of brandy in my house somewhere. I just got to find it. There's always that bottle of gin because I hate gin, but I always had gin because I
Just
never
in
drank
case.
it was always that one that I
You
Gordon's
knew it would be
gin.
there if you needed
Yeah.
the logic of an
Ziploc
alcoholic.
bag. Guess where? In the upper decker. There it is. It's always in the Ziploc bag right there.
Yeah.
Always and forever.
Top shelf that shit.
That whiskey, that can't hurt you if you drop it in some milk, right? That's
Oh,
I've
yeah.
always. So even that, tried to do it like Earl Grey tea, water, but that day too, but not even 48 hours into it, that's when I remembered I got that bottle of brandy. Christian Brothers. I know where it's at. Slug it back, and then I can go to sleep. But when you wake up, it's like the
terrors are
that
back.
thick, stormy headache, hangover. You just feel like rusty, miserable garbage.
yeah, awful.
And you try to do it all over again, or I'd space it out so I didn't have to feel so. But once I get to that certain inebriate level, then it's like, I can slug the rest of this because I know I got the bathroom gin, and I know I can just wait a minute. I can slug this confidence, walk down to the store, come back, no one will ever notice.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
cat will still be asleep. Shit like that.
Yeah,
like
the-
dumb
the-
stuff like that we
The
think.
lies that we tell ourselves.
You know what's
We blew-
funny about Seattle is, I mean, it starts raining end of September, doesn't really stop till April, right? And I remember because everything comes alive in the summertime, and there was all these festivals, and everybody's out, and you're doing stuff. I mean, you're going to the mountains, you're doing this, you're doing that. That's what we were like. And then when it comes around, the rain comes back, it's time to head back to the bars. What are you going to do? You go back to the bars. I mean, it was like, it was brutal, you know.
Oh,
you,
I'm sure.
You
What
just
year was that? That was the
1992.
that was the good
93.
times. That was the good music times.
Yeah,
Well,
we were musicians and
there
we were
was-
having fun.
If you recall, there's those Seattle had that. They were very good at booking shows, national touring artists,
Oh yeah.
local artists in that September to December month, because that's where, and to draw people into those bars and those small clubs and those venues, they
Yeah.
just grew and grew and grew. And like restaurant industry, the fall and the winter, that's the busiest time for us. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were always packed full. Like we never had a
Right.
dull moment, and there was,
You don't want to be outside because it's like always crappy and raining. So you want to go inside, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
You want to go out. You can't be staying at home all the time. Where do you go? You go to the bar. You go to the restaurant. You
Yep.
drink.
There's that one local band that sucks, and they suck so bad. You just got to go see them to see how bad they suck, and it just turns into like this pop thing to do. Like, let's go see the shit band, the shitty
Yeah.
Beatles or whatever.
Yeah.
Are they
Go
any
see the
good?
Dung Beatles.
I remember going to the open mic and there was a guy with a kalimba, and we're like,
A what?
a kalimba. It's like they got those prongs that stick out, and you just king ting ting. No,
Oh,
it's
like a mouth harp?
it's
Oh,
it's just
I know what you're talking about. It looks like
it's round.
It's got
Yeah.
these like a wooden teardrop and these like
Yeah.
centered these little tins that have like the different
Little
A, B,
tines,
C, D,
yeah.
E, F,
Yeah,
G,
you
G,
just
G,
flick
G,
'em.
B minor.
And I'm like,
ding, ding, dong, dong, ding,
we're
ding.
all just getting drunk, and we're like, isn't this the part where the big cane comes out?
Yeah. Come on, man. Let her rip.
I
How
remember I was-
fast can you play that thing?
I was in treatment, and this is I had no in arts and music class. They had that instrument you're talking, that wood instrument,
Kalimba.
and I swear I could figure out how to play Nutshell from Alice in Chains on it because it had the notes right there, but it was like ding 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 ding. But I was trying to figure it out because I don't know, just I was getting sober and I didn't know how to be sober. That's one thing about when you get
Yeah.
sober, it's like you
Yeah,
forget how
man.
to be normal.
Well,
So
you've never been normal.
yeah, for 20
You
years I
know,
was like, holy shit.
People.
I smart. I actually am smart.
I think people tend to fuck with themselves way too much because they're like, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, you've never been here, so how would you know what to do? This
Right.
is a whole different person. You
Well-
don't know who you are.
Sounds like, Anthony, you were started drinking in your 20s then,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because you were saying almost 2 decades.
Yeah,
and you
right.
got someone who's 40. So most people that we have on the show, usually it's 13 is the age.
Mm-hmm.
But you were a late bloomer.
I was a late bloomer, but I remember being a child when my dad would have his Air Force buddies or cop buddies over for game night. They'd play cards on the dining room table. During the summer, had relatives over. Like, I'd get my dad Coors. That's what he drank.
Couple sips here and
I'd
there.
take a swig out of
Yeah.
it, but
Oh,
I never
yeah.
liked it. I just wanted like my dad to, hey, my son. It
Yeah,
was,
right,
it was the
right,
80s, by the way.
yeah.
In the 80s, it was different. You can get your ass spanked in the restaurant or Target or Kmart. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not in this, PC of what's going on now. It's like you want to give your kids. My friends talk about this on, reason why there's. Sometimes you need to just give your kid an ass whooping. The kids that Generation Xers, we grew up getting spanked. That was just, it wasn't frowned upon, And so like,
Listen, my
drinking-
friends' moms could whoop my ass.
yeah,
Like, if I got
Yeah.
out of line at my friend's house,
yeah.
their moms had permission to fucking straighten me
Yeah.
out.
So like drinking first drink of my dad's beer when I was 8, like sure, I felt cool, whatever, but I didn't think of it because I had G.I. Joes and Nintendo, and like that was my thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Baseball cards,
Yeah.
Back when you can go play Bad Dudes at the arcade version, and
But also, you probably left school, went home, and your mom and dad were working, and you could be home by yourself.
Yeah, but
You know,
we,
at
we
12,
are-
11, 12 years
I
old.
was the second out of 4 boys, and my older brother was, he was always the alpha. He was always in charge. Like, we did homework, and we got to watch cartoons, and then we do homework, and we have
They call
our parents would come home. Like, he was he was the leader
They
of
call
the
that
house.
the caretaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I learned that as well. Yeah, the
Yeah.
caretaker. That was his role. He knew how to do it. And so we'd have all that way. We would be rewarded with playing Nintendo or going outside and hang and play with our friends and ride
You
our bikes.
earned things.
Earned things because that was the norm. That was
I've-
what we thought was normal.
That's been like a topic of discussion a lot with me and my girl lately. Like, you gotta, I had to work for everything that I had
Right.
as a kid. Like, I wanted new school clothes when school was starting. I had to save up my money and go and buy them because I was raised by a single parent. She didn't have the money to just go drop $200-300 on clothes. So I'd go to the store, put a layaway on, pay it off. I had paper routes. I
Yep, had that.
I mowed lawns. I did whatever I had to do to make money.
Yeah, that's what my dad
Yeah.
did for us. He taught us how to mow lawns and chop wood.
Yeah. Whatever the neighbors
firewood.
need.
Yeah, with
Shoveling
chainsaws.
driveways. Man, I
Driveways.
haven't seen people shovel a driveway. Like, kids used to walk around with shovels. I make $300-400 on a snowstorm.
We did that. Yeah,
You know?
we do the weed whacking and shovel out the areas of the front lawn for the sprinkler system.
Yeah.
We learned how to do that at a young age. Like, I knew how to cast a reel and hook up and put a weight on a fishing rod when I was like 9 years old. Like, it was. And when 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds weren't doing that at my age, I always thought they were like, how can you not know how to do this? Like, what is wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
you should have learned this in second grade. Like,
I remember 16, 17 years old.
Huh.
I had a license. We knew that when it snowed, you could go up to the Brockton Hospital and make $25 an hour for shoveling. Who wants to go up Brockton Hospital? We went up there on a Thanksgiving. I must have ate 3 turkey dinners the whole time I was there.
Mhm.
And the old man that we worked for, he would have us outside shoveling for about half an hour, then we'd go inside for like 15 minutes. Go back outside for half an hour. Go inside for like 15 minutes. But we worked, you know what I mean? And like, did the money always go towards good things? No.
No.
That afforded me a lot of opportunity to get things that people wanted and have them
Right.
hang around me, because
Right.
that uncomfortability or that feeling different, and that started early. We were talking before this started how you said you wrote everything down from 14 to 41.
Yeah.
Like,
Junior high to
I don't.
from junior high to treatment.
So, like, you're trying to figure out what caused
Yeah, the
all of this to happen.
the vicious
Right.
cycle. Like,
Yeah,
where was
like,
the missing link in my life that
There
made
was
me
something,
want-
some type of, and I'll say it again. We say it every show. Some trauma, which
Was it trauma? See,
a
that's-
trauma doesn't have to be something crazy. A trauma could be you waiting at the ball field for someone to pick you up and they don't show up when they're supposed to be there. That's a trauma.
Is something that you perceive as a trauma
Yeah.
as a child. Sure.
And
I can say that I worked at a very young age as well. But I didn't turn out. I didn't have an easy road.
yeah.
Didn't do too good. I
Yeah.
had a lot of problems and
And that's the thing. Like, there's
I-
deep
I-
trauma work. There's a lot of things that you can delve into to, the literature I've read. It says underlying causes and conditions. Alcohol is but a symptom.
that's right. Yeah, or
That's,
alcohol.
It's your
in-
solution to life.
substitute your addiction of choice.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Alcohol, heroin,
Yeah.
friggin' food, scratch
Gambling.
tickets, gambling,
Yeah.
sex. It doesn't matter. It all
Anger.
all of those things
Anger.
affect the same area of the brain.
Anger is probably at the top. Maybe parents divorced when I was 12. I was always found not having a father figure and taking advantage of my mom raising 4 boys, and I had that itch to be rebellious and I was.
Do you think it was attention that you needed?
That was I've said this
No,
a
it's
million
the-
times. Attention was my first addiction. I
Was
didn't
it?
care if it was good or bad.
It was
Because-
the friends I had in the 6th grade, and it was all about being cool
Right.
and impressing girls
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
playing baseball
And doing
hanging out
crazy
the
shit. So
arcade.
people would, like,
Yeah, and doing who can be the most outrageous, and as long
Yeah.
as
So
if
acceptance.
it made the
probably.
girls laugh, you were in. I got friends in this when I was in Covington. I lived in Kent, Washington, actually.
Kent, yeah.
Covington, yeah, down there, Lake Meridian, and I shoveled frickin' snow in the parking. That whole apartment complex, I did that. We used to hustle tip gratuity at the bowling alley to keep score back when you can actually had to keep score.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
really?
right.
The league bowlers would come in, they'd slap down dollar bills and dollar. You can walk out there with $7, having nothing in your pocket, get on the list to take a score for bowling, and you can walk out with $50 in your pocket at 12 years old, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And those things, like, that made me feel good, was to have that kind of money at such a young age to, like, buy, a pair of Adidas or a pair of,
Yeah.
I had access to
I
the Air
want me
Force
some
Base.
shell toes. I'm gonna go get them.
And I could go to the Air Force Base and not pay taxes because Air Jordans cost $98 back in the 90s, or we can go to Foot Locker and pay $120, $150.
Yeah, right.
So we had that. My brother and I had that access to go to the base and buy things like that, and because I would hustle at Bellevue Bowl, and I had same thing over at working in the apartment complex, like shoveling snow, like doing sand and rock salt all over
Yeah,
there, and
whatever-
then
whatever to
breaking it
make
up
money.
with a flat hoe and then shoveling it up again. Like, I did those things. Like, I know what that's like. But when it came to, like, I guess smoked a cigarette was the first thing I did as a kid.
Yeah.
I smoked pot before, and I wasn't really much of a beer drinker. Like, in high school, I guess there was parties, but it wasn't really my forte. I mean, it was around. I had a beer or two, but I didn't really care for the taste of beer. It just
So you like hard liquor?
I didn't like any of that stuff. It
You
wasn't
didn't start
until
till he was in 20s.
No,
I
I'm
was-
saying when you did become a drinker, it was.
I was
hard
a
liquor.
student at the Art Institute. I was in audio production at the time, and I got a job at a restaurant brewery in Bellevue, Washington, and that was my introduction to fine crafted ales, lagers, and pilsners, and
Oh, my
stouts,
God.
and brown ales.
When
and
I went over there, dude, back here, you had like Budweiser and Busch, and you go over there, and it's like they have all these craft beers,
Yes.
all these small little things.
microbreweries,
and it's like
yeah.
Microbrew, Red Hook, like
Fremont.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
totally different. It was totally different.
Yeah,
back
and
then.
it turned me around. It gave me that collegiate confidence that you hear about, but I never was like that in school. I was always bookworm and highlighting and researching, hanging out with audio kids and doing those things and doing projects at school. And sometimes we'd hang out, but there was never there would be like a 6-pack of Red Hook or whatever. But
Right.
I wasn't reaching for it all the time because I was too busy trying to figure out how a Mackie 8-bus console works to a 2-inch reel-to-reel and what the hell is a patch bay. Like, good Lord, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm learning all this stuff because I've got too much going on I want to stay focused. And when I got this gig as an expediter at this brewery, I got introduced to these it wasn't Budweiser, it was not
like-
Coors, it wasn't Natural, it wasn't Ice, it wasn't that crap beer that you see all over the place in stores and corner stores. It was like this brewmaster put
Right.
his
As far as I knew,
whole artistic creativity into these beers, and I was blown away.
right, it's like a movement now, right? They said the craft beer movement. Well, I never even heard of it until I went to Seattle, and it was like pouring down my throat like it was still that style, It's like,
Yeah.
it becomes a whole thing in itself,
It
It's
does.
just-
So now you talk about working in the restaurant and it just progressed from there.
Yeah, I was. I started out in the front of the house, and it just, for some reason, maybe it was drinking all the time, and I was started noticing like a change in my personality, like I was mimicking, I don't know, kind of being a braggart, with the other servers and the bartenders, and making it cool with them and being around that. And I didn't feel comfortable. But when I was drunk, when I was having a few ales or wheat beers or burnt red ales and what have yous inside me, even cast condition. I didn't care as long as I had something in me to give me that confidence.
Right.
But I was, even at that age, I was still young, 20, 21-ish. You know, I didn't really start doing the heavy drinking until about 22, really, in retrospect. 21. I started just, I just got persuaded to, because the sous chef just didn't, he saw my face. He just saw how I was just a miserable, like, you don't like talking to people. Like, you used to be this personable person. Like, what happened? Once you come back in the kitchen, I think you'll fit in back here. And I've been in the kitchen since 2000, the year 2000, pre 9/11. I've been in the kitchen, and I never worked at front of house ever again. I just felt more accepted without having to brag about anything.
Yeah.
Like rubbing out, like being involved in those stupid stories that all the servers and bartenders are all involved in. It's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. These guys are way better back here.
And I was the opposite. I was always in the back of the house trying to get to the front of the house.
Really?
Because I was sick of cooking. You know, I went to high school
I like
for
the
it.
environment.
Yeah, it was insane working back there. And when I got sober, I'm like, I don't think I want to go back to cooking because
It's one of
like
the
we said, the friggin' drinks came back at the end of the night, free drinks. You know, waitresses always had blow, or they had pills, or they could get what you wanted, or so and so was coming by at 10. You know what I mean?
It's one of the professions that are high rates of alcoholism.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I've got this all written down in my. If I ever come on again, I'll share them with you because I think you'd love to hear the Frontier Room stories. I'd love to share the veal stock nightmare. That's when I
The
knew
veal
that.
stock nightmare.
That was the time where I realized that. Oh man, that when I knew I had a drinking problem, is when that's. I like to share it some other time.
because you're
it's
writing all this
pretty
stuff down for like
vicious
memoirs or
Well,
a book.
I've always been a writer since like the 3rd grade. I remember my mother writing a story with me about a genie finding a lamp, and I found this lamp and this genie gave me 3 wishes, and I wrote this story with my mother in the 3rd grade, and I just I wanted to write more stories my entire life, and I kept winning all these monthly story things in elementary school. I've always liked the whole concept of writing, I've always, like, my first book the first sentence of a book I ever read was War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, and I was like, 1st grade. Like,
Is
what's
that
the
best
first?
of times, worst of times? That one?
That
Is
was
one?
Dickens, Tale of Two Cities.
Oh, that's Tale of Two
Yeah.
Cities. Yeah, yeah.
That, I've always been fond of literature and music, and my read intake is vast, and my music taste is all over the place. And it just keeps it grows. And the more I get sober, the more every day passing by, the more that I just kind of don't. I'll listen to Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. Like, I'll listen to the songs from the days of old. Like, I love that stuff. I will always have a place in my heart for that grunge era style of music. But I've been getting to like flamenco, classical, Paco de Luca, Spanish guitar. Like, I've been jamming out to that stuff. Like,
That's pretty cool.
I'm so down with that stuff. It's insane. Like, I want to go get a classical guitar again and reteach how to play that stuff. And I've been growing my fingernails out for some reason, but I do miss playing
music
guitar.
helps, man.
It does.
Music helps.
Just to go into a different world. It's like when I write, I have the ability to shut the universe off, the world around me, the physical world, and just hone in on this, my laptop or my pen and my journal, and just kind of shut the world off. And I can do that. I know how to exactly do that.
Safe to say you weren't doing too much of that when you were in your height of your addiction.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
I was drinking, popping pills, doing blow, doing meth, smoking it, doing anything I could to get my creative brain going. And it was all, when I go back, even I've written on stories on mushrooms, on LSD, on mescaline, and I've gone back and read that and go, what is this gibberish?
Yeah,
I had no idea. Like, in my brain when I was writing all that stuff down, I was like, this is going to be a
You ever
Nobel
see-
Prize right here.
Ever see the video drinking from cups?
No.
It's a guy who took acid and he's in a closet, and his friends record him, and then he's a cartoonist. So after he does this, he makes a cartoon Lizard to go with all the stuff that he said that made absolutely
Wait a
no
minute,
sense.
I want to say that does seem kind of familiar.
Drinking from cups. Look it
Drinking
up.
from
It's
cups.
it's hilarious. I don't know how it goes with recovery, but
There's a great recovery. There's a lot of good recovery movies out there that they should show in treatments in residential treatment centers, and one of them was a great one with Joaquin Phoenix. Don't worry, he won't get far on foot, and it's about a cartoonist from Portland, Oregon, who was an alcoholic who got into a car accident and was paralyzed from the sternum neck down. And he was the cartoonist that the guy that wrote The Far Side. Well, the guy that was his competitor, like that cartoonist. That was.
I think I started watching that.
It's got
Was he-
Jack Black's in it.
Was he rolling around in a wheelchair?
In
And
a
he was
wheel-
like
yeah.
very angry
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, I think I started
Yeah,
watching that.
it's a good movie. It's a good watch, and it's
Yeah.
about how he came from it. Something traumatic came
Yes.
about in his life, and he became this famous cartoonist, and
Mhm.
and that was his accomplishment from battling alcoholism.
But he was a wicked womanizer prior to.
he was terrible. He
was awful before the accident.
Awful.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was just
Yeah.
a horrible, philandering
And it's out
scumbag.
that way too, Portland, Oregon, or
Yeah,
something out that
mhm,
way. Yeah,
yeah.
I think I did see some of that.
I think that maybe
Schultz, David Schultz or Schultz, something like that. It was
The Peanuts.
No,
no.
no,
It was a guy that
that guy's totally different.
it's kind of like The
He's
Far
old.
Side, kind of like that kind of cartoonish style, but it's more dark. And he
Yes,
was
yes.
that artist that did that.
Yeah,
And it's a movie based on his life, and Joaquin Phoenix was a starring role,
yes, I
starring
did.
actor.
I know I've started
Great movie,
watching.
So hopefully,
Ton of them.
we'll see some stuff out of you as you keep going, staying sober and writing.
Yeah.
It's exciting. The
Yeah,
future future can be exciting.
And like the
Sky's the
sky's the
limit.
limit. Exactly.
That's it,
You can
man.
do whatever you want around here. You want to be a doctor? That's fine. Just go to fucking medical school for 8 years.
Yeah.
I love to be on like radio, like podcast, and do voiceover work for. I get emails about this all casting, and it's like voiceover work. Just come to New York, and I'm like, well, that sounds inviting, but
Yeah,
I've
right.
always been. I mean, I got that audio thing I've always a little bit of a background, but I've always kind of liked the whole aspect of the audio technology and
right.
production wise and stuff like that. And I was talking with one of the fat guys I used to work with in Minnesota. He's like, why are you here? Like, with your background and your stories and what you've experienced, why aren't you on the radio telling your stories? I'm like, because no one gives a shit about an alcoholic's stories.
Right.
Guess what? I'm on a sober podcast right fucking now. So the
So,
universe
it just-
is real. God does exist.
You put that out there, and there, and
I'm
here
putting
we
it out
are
there.
now.
Just like putting my resume out on Indeed into the universe. Here I am. Hi, my name's Tony Furland, and I'm on the air in Quincy, Massachusetts.
There you go. And that was an hour just about.
Yes.
And well, I mean, I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, we
with-
usually
with
do
your-
a we
with
do
your stories.
discussions. We'll have a couple people on.
Yeah.
We'll
We
bring
could-
up a topic.
We could do something. We could do some stories.
Yeah,
It'd
absolutely.
be cool. But anyway,
Yes, thank you for sharing
thanks
with
for-
us tonight.
Thanks for coming on. We
you know,
appreciate
it was-
you.
No problem. I'd love to return. I got some stories, some good ones. I think the veal stock.
the veal
That-
stock.
Veal stock.
I know, this is
I'm
getting
trying to
interesting.
bring some. There's more to just like the stories at AA meetings. Like, there's got to be some laughter and some humiliation in your life. The things that they teach in the 12 steps.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been
You have-
crying laughing at it.
you gotta, like,
opening.
Just
Crying.
try to bring a little bit of unique antidotes to sobriety. That it's fun to make fun of yourself and to laugh at your stupidity and your failures, because you know what,
It is.
you
It can be.
You
it
still
can
made it
be.
through it.
There's
Yeah.
some things that I'm like, oh god, I can't believe it. Well, yeah, I did do that. Oh,
Yeah, right.
All right. So lolterms.com. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Like, subscribe, share. We have YouTube. You can subscribe on that as well.
We love you
Um,
guys.
Yes, and
You're
we got our
welcome.
social distancing going.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to
Social distancing.
keep that going, so that we can keep bringing this to you. And we love doing it, so we're gonna
Got
keep
it.
going.
Yeah, man.
There
All
you
right,
go.
thanks again, Tony.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank you.
peace.
Peace.
That was fun.